Casual, you want to go first? Start bench and cut.
Let me go ahead and simmer down so I can think about this. So we got the Undertaker, we got Andre the Giant, we got Bret Hart. I'm gonna start Undertaker because I think me personally, it's a little bit of bias because I hold that 2005 return up until the moment he actually like officially retired. I hold those like the moments he gave me near and dear. The 2007 match against Batista, the 2000, I mean WrestleMania 25 and 26, matches against Shawn Michaels, um, his world heavyweight title reign, how he made Mark Henry seem far more dominant than he looked in past years. I'd argue Undertaker has the greatest final match of all time. The match he had with AJ Styles, that's a way to send it off, and so that's why I started him. I'm a bench Bret Hart because that's the greatest, the greatest there is, the greatest there was, the greatest there'll ever be. So that's my guy. And then Andre the Giant unfortunately has to get cut. I don't want to cut him, but since Sports PSP want to be nasty
I'm not
and
being
put
nasty.
and put him and put him in this type of battle to where I have to cut him, I gotta cut him. But much love to Andre the Giant. Rest in peace to my guy.
Champ.
Okay. 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 Now, here's what we're going to do.
Oh Lord.
I'm starting Andre.
Okay.
Andre went undefeated for 15 years. 15 years. His arms, his shoulders never went to the mat. Plus, you saw what happened. People don't understand this, and I say this all the time when I'm talking about wrestling. People always want to talk about the WWE. They don't understand the magnitude of what Andre did for all of the territories
Facts.
back during the National Wrestling Alliance days. He
Facts.
was the biggest attraction during that time.
Facts.
He was bigger than Hulk Hogan at one point before the WWE blew up in the 80s. I mean, even during Hulk Hogan's run, before Hulk Hogan became what he was, if it wasn't for Andre the Giant, there would be no Hulk Hogan as far as what he was. So, I mean, without the slam, take the slam out of it. Are we still, I'm talking about from 90s fans on up, are we still looking at Hulk Hogan as the all time great if he doesn't body slam Andre, who hadn't been defeated in 15 years?
Maybe not '90s fans. Maybe not
So,
'90s fans.
I'm talking about wrestling savants will tell you that was the turning point of wrestling at that point. Largest crowd in history at the time, over 90,000 people at the Pontiac Silverdome. And like I stated, people can't underestimate what Andre the Giant did for the territories back then as well. Because, being in the WWE is one thing, but when you think about the territory days of how far those guys had to travel, and there was no cable TV like it was today. And for you to
Hmm.
be popular like you was back then in the territory days, when it was all about word of mouth and things like that, the wrestling inquiry and things like that, for you to be as big as he was, Andre was wrestling at that point. So I have to give the start to Andre because, hey, you ask wrestling savants who you taking to start your promotion. Andre the Giant was the biggest attraction in the world.
All
So
right.
unfortunately, I got to start. So fortunately, I'm starting Andre. Unfortunately, I got a bitch Taker. Taker was a huge part of my childhood and my adulthood. I mean, it's not the same anymore watching WrestleMania without Taker. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's not the same anymore, man. You knew come WrestleMania, I'm gonna see the Undertaker beat somebody. Come this WrestleMania, somebody finna fall victim to the street. And not only that, look at the things that the Undertaker did: the Buried Alive match, Hell in the Cell, the Last Ride match. I mean, remember the match he had? I know Stone Cold's your GOAT, PSP. Remember that match he had with the Undertaker at SummerSlam? I mean, that one was bigger than WrestleMania at that point. I mean, in SummerSlam '98, that was huge. I mean,
And fully loaded too.
yeah, and
The
fully
first
loaded.
blood match. Yeah.
The first blood match, all of that. So
I
I'm
want to
basically,
ask you a question before you, like when you finish. When you finish, I want to ask you a question.
and fortunately, I love Bret Hart, but I have to cut Bret Hart. I have to cut Bret Hart. And Bret Hart was one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Wrestled in arguably the greatest match in wrestling history, in the Iron Man match at WrestleMania 12.
Mm-hmm.
So, but as in my humble opinion, he's not bigger than Andre. He'll never be bigger than the Undertaker. And Bret Hart had his own lane in technical wrestling, but he wasn't bigger at his peak than those two guys.
Go ahead, casual.
Go ahead, Catherine.
So would you say, like, would you argue that Andre the Giant's 15-year streak was greater than Undertaker's 23-2 streak?
Yeah, it can be argued that, like I said, you're going through the territories back then, and back then, wrestling, the National Wrestling
No, it's
Alliance,
21-2. I'm sorry, I just checked it.
yeah,
You're right.
but back then during the territory days, you're wrestling a multitude of people, and in fact, he beat Hulk Hogan back during the territory days. But like I said, it wasn't on the WWE, so it don't count. It doesn't count in a lot of people's opinion, I will say, but because people didn't see that on a national stage. But I will say that, leading, if it hadn't been for him being sick after WrestleMania, I think he would have been even bigger than he was, because he was coming in just as cable television was getting off the ground, Andre the Giant. And it's unfortunate for him that he passed away shortly afterwards, and he succumbed to the illness that he had. But during the territory days, man, and like I said, during the territory days, Andre the Giant epitomized those territories back then. You get Andre the Giant, and you automatically filling up a stadium. I mean,
Yeah.
my mom used to go to the Columbus Civic Center to watch Andre the Giant. So
Wow.
yeah, because they used to come all over the place back then. I mean, it was huge back then. Wrestling used to come to towns back then in many different territories. We had Georgia Championship Wrestling down here, but they used to come to the Municipal Auditorium to Columbus back then. So every Saturday, every Friday. So yeah, everybody, those territory days, people take away from that because people don't really use the internet properly. But hey, some people will argue wrestling was even better back then. But Andre.
All right. All right. Trey.
Well, I'm starting the Undertaker. I'm benching. I'm gonna say I'm benching Andre,
And you
and
cutting
I'm
Bret the
cutting
Hitman
Bret.
Hart.
Yes, I'm cutting him.
All right. All right.
This is probably the most diverse choices we've ever had on the panel.
Yeah, and you accuse me of being nasty. No, but it's all love.
How?
It's all love. It's all love. I'm just being facetious. Calm
All
down.
right, dude. All right.
Broad, who you got?
I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I stopped watching WWE at the peak of the Cena Dwayne Johnson rivalry, or like at least when it was like near the end of it, but then like kicked back up like 2015. So that's probably what, like 2012 ish.
Damn, 9 years?
Yeah. But I'm gonna start the Undertaker. I'm gonna bench Andre the Giant, God rest his soul. And I thought he died of a heart attack at his father's funeral.
That's what I thought as well. Yeah.
But and then
No damn joke he was doing.
I'm cutting Bret Hart.
All right. Harrison doesn't want to get involved with this, and I respect Harrison's decision. I gotta start Taker. The in ring, although Andre the Giant, boy, he was a beast. I'm gonna start Taker. I love his entrance. When you hear that toll the when he walks the entrance and then he
Doom.
removes the hat and he does that eye thing. That's my favorite entrance
Well,
outside of course my favorite is Stone Cold because Stone Cold is my goat. But the
well,
Undertaker's entrance,
I
you can
seriously
argue.
need to know why Stone Cold is your goat, but we'll talk about this another time.
He's badass. He's rebellious. I just love him because of the Attitude Era and what he meant. Vince McMahon, Stone Cold. What he meant to the WWE and how he picked it up back in those days in the late '90s. Unfortunately for Austin,
Neck injury.
longevity he does not have because a
Yeah.
lot of it has to go back. And Champ knows this. '97, the pile driver he suffered from Owen Hart, which caused him with that neck injury, which by the way he admitted he didn't break his neck, he bruised his spinal cord,
Yeah.
which let's get that for the record. And also two other health problems that he was dealing with at the time, and he had mentioned that in his documentary. I've been a Stone Cold dude, badass, rebellious. I love his entrance. um Also, he had some great matches, and speaking of which, with Bret Hart, remember the match in which Bret Hart
Yeah.
put him on the sharpshooter, and which
He
Austin
was
did not
bleeding.
quit.
He
Did
was
No.
not quit. He
bleeding.
was just unconscious, unfortunately. I'm a start taker. I'm a bench Andre the Giant. Unfortunately, I have to gut Bret Hart, but Bret Hart, that family history with, of course, Stu Hart, late great Stu Hart. Unfortunately, his brother, God rest his soul, Owen Hart, that horrible incident. But when you look at Bret the Hitman Hart, man, he had legendary matches. Austin WrestleMania, Shawn Michaels, of course, everyone they still bring up to this day Bret the Hitman Hart, the Montreal Screwjob, and that was a huge factor in the business.
They don't talk
Um,
about how amazing that match was leading up
It
to that
was.
though.
it was,
Yeah.
it was. And I mean, the rivalry between him and Shawn, not just in the ring, but also
Out the
outside the
ring as
ring
well.
too.
Yes.
and and I've said this too. Shawn Michaels, greatest in ring wrestler I've ever seen. Just how it doesn't matter if it's a little dude or a big dude, he will put a show. He will put fans on the edge of their seats because how electrifying he was. And yes, you can argue casual 2000 Shawn Michaels probably was better than 90s Shawn Michaels because him coming off that back injury and the torn ACL, being away from 4 years, the SummerSlam match that he had against Triple H, dude looked like he was still at his best. He didn't. It was like he was still at his prime. And then, of course, the
Some of the
later
greatest
matches with
work.
the Undertaker, and then Triple H with Bad Blood, that Hell in a Cell match.
Uh,
I'm a start taker because I love Mick Foley. I love that Hell in a Cell match. When
mhm.
Undertaker threw Mick Foley off the top of the cage, choke slammed him in the cage. I love Mick Foley. He crazy as hell. I mean, he doesn't look like the type of person that's like violent, but he just lives for it. And especially during the end of that match, them thumbtacks. I don't know what the hell he was thinking with them thumbtacks. But I'm a star taker because of the
yeah.
personality, the character, the wrestling style. I'm a bench Andre the Giant, and I'm a cut, unfortunately, Bret Hart. But shout out to Bret Hart.
I'm pretty
Hey, PSP.
Well, what's up?
You say Stone Cold's your GOAT, right?
If you
Go.
love Stone Cold, let me get a hell yeah.
What's
So
wrong with Stone Cold? You don't like Stone Cold?
no, I was gonna tell you, go back and look at the dangerous those go back to the old WCW, back
Oh
when he was in
yes.
WCW, and look at the
Remember,
Dangerous Alliance.
yeah. Remember the
People don't realize
promos
he's a
that
Paul Gaiman guy.
yeah. Remember the promo that he gave in which he received a standing ovation,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Mhm.
and also Paul. He loved himself some Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman saw a lot of confidence in him. Paul Heyman wanted that attitude from Stone Cold, that authenticity,
Yeah,
and Jim Ross picked him up just like that. But yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And when it
yeah.
comes to the Undertaker, and I just remember one moment from him. I'm really trying to find out, are you the next big thing
Or wait a
or the
minute.
next big bitch?
I tried.
No, 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 no. It's okay, champ. I don't mind cussing. I don't mind cussing. Just be careful, but it's all good.
But yeah, go back and look at the Dangerous Alliance matches.
But casual, that's why I say he's my GOAT. Personality, in ring, what he meant to the Attitude Era, the 90s at the time, the rivalries between him and Mr. McMahon, The Rock. My favorite Austin match, although he lost that one, WrestleMania 19 with The Rock at Seattle. The other match against Shawn Michaels, I was kind of disappointed how that didn't turn out well. Shawn at the time, he was dealing with some personal problems, drug problems, the bad back, and also to Mike Tyson. Love me some Mike Tyson. That was a terrible count though. That count.
But how did you feel, since you were a Stone Cold fan, how did you feel when you saw Stone Cold turn heel and he shook Mr. McMahon's hand?
Yeah, but still, Trey, I told you last week my favorite moment with him and Mr. McMahon, that hospital when he hit him in the head with that bedpan. Headache. I mean, but that's how I feel about Stone Cold.